For the purpose of this story, my name is that of an old Creole woman I once knew, Corantine Bramford. This is my story, long ago written in the pages of time. I'll let it begin as I was an Ursuline nun. I arrived in the New World, New Orleans, in 1730. I was 14 years old. I came on a merchant ship with thieves and whores. A merchant ship, like cattle, treated no better. I was to live in the Ursuline convent and chaperone the women so that they could be bought or traded for wives. Not even one among them wasn't diseased. The men didn't care. They wanted companionship and children to populate this new state. Most weren't any better. Gamblers and cheats, con men, murderers and liars. It was a place that God looked upon with a distaste of just having bitten in to a bitter lime. I was lonely. My fellow nuns were much older and not known for being friendly. We took in unwanted babies every day, babies born to women who weren't married. Too many to count, really. We were told that they'd be given to good homes, but I saw them with my own eyes, building the walls, stuffing those babies inside and covering them with stones and mud to stifle their cries. I desperately wanted to leave. For years I toiled, and I did as I was told. I only left to chaperone, until one night, at a party, I met a man. A beautiful blue-eyed man, black hair, skin darkened by the sun, hands with blisters and muscles carved by the hard daily work of building the new homes for the wealthy, of which there were now many. We fell madly in love, and I would sneak from the convent or leave a girl and a chaperone for as long as it took for us to spend time together. He worked for a wealthy shipping gentleman who treated him well, and he wanted to marry me. I knew that I could not marry. I'd made a promise before God, and I must not break that, even though my heart and my body wanted nothing more. One evening I went to meet with my beloved, and he did not show. I went the next night, and the next. I could not imagine what would be keeping him away. On the fourth night I heard the shipping gentleman describe the death of his best man, and my heart ran cold. Shattered into a million pieces. I knew that God was punishing me for forsaking my vows. I raised my fist to the heavens and I screamed in a fit of rage. I became ill and stayed in bed for several weeks. I was too ill to eat much, and when I did, I could not keep the food down. I drank small bits of water and slept alone in the dark, mourning my love and hating the devotion I had denied to my Lord. One morning I felt a movement in my belly, startled me. Then again, the movement. I asked one sister, whom I become friendly with during my illness, to please help me identify this, and she placed her hand on my belly. She jumped back, eyes wide open, and whispered, "Sister, you are with child." I hushed her immediately, lest we be overheard. She leaned into me again and whispered into my ear, "Sister, you are with child. That is a child you are bearing." I began to cry, deeply sobbing. She held me so tight as to not alarm any of our convent. I asked her what I should do, and she quickly helped me form a plan. I was to remain ill, and she alone would care for me. I told her that I would not give this child to the Ursulines. I sent her to speak with a shipping gentleman, as I knew that he and his wife had been unsuccessful in giving birth. I asked her to offer them my child without any knowledge of who I was. She went 2 nights later, and the couple agreed. On the night that I gave birth, I went to the farthest corner of the convent and quietly labored in a cold, damp room, clinging onto a blanket, twisting it to give me strength, begging the Lord to please forgive me and allow this child to live. And she did. A girl, blue eyes, black hair. For many years after, by day I'd perform my duties as an Ursuline, angry and hardened. Occasionally I'd see my daughter, Josephine, so beautiful, so ladylike, so loved by another mother. By night I'd wander aimlessly, possibly hoping that I'd be mugged or murdered as a woman on my own, walking through the darkest alleys in Orleans. On one of my nights I saw a stranger, a young man, light, almost pale skin, red hair, green eyes, and I watched as he leaned into another man and took him by the back of his hair, biting his neck. He spotted me, blood now dripping from his mouth as he had gorged on the blood of this man. His eyes were glossy, his skin becoming less pale, almost flushing. I could see him trying to focus his drunken gaze, and when he did, I began to run. Before I could, he was standing next to me, smelling me gently. My hair, my neck, the air around me. Such sadness follows you, sister. I'd heard tales of the men like this, ones who turned their backs on God's will and became immortal, but I'd never believed it until now. I stood tall. This is, after all, what I'd been wanting, was it not? My death, to be rid of this life and the chains that bound me. If you mean to kill me, please do so now. He laughed a little. He looked into my eyes. His were coal black, but I could feel them seeing into my soul, and I was not afraid, although that I knew I should very well be so. No, child. I mean you no harm. I know your sadness, my love. I can see your loss and smell your pain. I must be going. It's late. Do you want your freedom? He asked, slowly, softly and kindly. Yes, it's the only thing I want, and my child. I cannot give you your child, my dear, but I can give you your freedom. I can free you from the bonds of not only your human place in the world, but also from the convent, if you will marry me. I took no longer than 5 seconds to look up into his eyes and agree to his offer. Then he swiftly turned my neck, slowly brushing my hair away, kissing me softly, whispering to me that he would love and care for me, taking in my human smell for one last time, as he ever so gently broke the skin, and when I instinctively startled, he held one hand around my waist, drew me in, and took me. Every other generation we've moved away from New Orleans, and then we move back. I have to be here. I had to see my daughter and my daughter's daughter and her daughter and so on. I've seen them all pass. I have danced down Berber Street in a dress and an umbrella and followed their coffins to the cemeteries, century-old cemeteries, in which they have been laid to rest. I always wear red in celebration of their lives. I've known many of them and become close to them. They've all been beautiful and glorious women. Of course, they have no earthly idea just who I am. At one point, my husband, whose name you may recognize as a famous politician, so I must leave it out of this story, once recommended that we adopt our own child. But I knew that I could not do that and watch another child die of old age while I remain youthful. I do still make that pilgrimage to the old cemetery, Lafayette, number 1. And if you ever see a woman in a red dress placing a rock on the monuments, well, that just might be me.